Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. This election is getting super close, but this is something crazy that has just came out. It came out last night in the morning hours, and Trump and RFK, Mike Johnson, they're all furious. This is big. They're coming out swinging because it was reported that in Pennsylvania, there's one address that has 5,200 voters assigned to it. This is the largest amount of people tied to one address in the nation, and it just happens to be in the most important swing state. Trump is working with RFK and Mike Johnson to fight against this right before the election because it's these things where it just doesn't make it fair. The ballots are overwhelmingly for Democrats, and no one knows who fills them out. There's no ID, only a signature, and they're trying to push these through. Also, on top of this, the Democrats are very nervous. In many of the states, we have the early person voting that's going on, and the Republicans have come out like never before. They have literally doubled the amount that have gone in early voting compared to the Democrats. This has never happened before in the history of elections. And again, we want to make it too big to rig. And hopefully it's really happening. But Trump is still almost 30 points above Kamala Harris in the betting markets. And Kamala Harris is taking another day off from the campaign just days before the election. This is unheard of. This is the craziest election we've ever seen. There's video that has surfaced that makes it look like she's given up on the campaign whenever she was doing a press briefing. I mean, she is so far behind. But we got a ton of breaking news for you today. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching, to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. Remember, the link is in the description to join. And thank you to all those that give a super chat donation. We are here to serve you, and we are going to use that money for good. We've already given yesterday to the Samaritan's Purse to help the hurricane victims, and we will be picking another charity in this next month. But we've got a ton of great news to jump into. Check this out of what is going on with the Kamala Harris campaign, because you can't make this stuff up. This stuff that's really happening, it's blowing everybody's minds, and a lot of people are just wondering what's going on with this campaign.
Kamala Harris, she's taking the day off. She's going to spend all day just to prepare for an NBC interview, which will be taped. Of course, this would be like, you're a football coach, this would be like 2 weeks before the national championship if you decide not to practice. Does this make sense to you?
Well, I think they're just trying to keep her off camera, to be honest with you. She's been a disaster. Her poll numbers keep going down. Donald Trump is the Energizer Bunny. I mean, he does not quit. I mean, he keeps going and going and going. You know, he's called me before at 2 or 3 in the morning. Coach, what are you doing? I said, I'm sleeping. What are you doing? He sleeps 2 or 3 hours a night, but he loves what he's doing. He loves the country. He's our only chance. We can't lose this. We can't have another 4 years of this nonsense of spending money that we don't have, of all the things that are going on in foreign wars. He will get us out of the wars. He will get us back to spending the right way. But we've got to get an identity back in our country. Right now, we don't have an identity, and the Democrats are all to blame for it because they pushed all this agenda that is totally nonsense.
And this is the thing. Kamala Harris is taking off. The betting markets are showing that Trump is almost up. I mean, this is almost up 30 points. This is huge. Still, days before, Trump is winning in all the swing states. And this is the biggest thing right here, because I'm going to show you a little bit more about this. But right here, you can see that in this, there was 5,200 individuals who were assigned to this one address. And they were all overwhelmingly Democrat. No one knows who filled out the ballots. This right here is just what they're trying to catch. The RNC is going after them. And this is, again, this happened big time in 2020. They're trying to keep it from happening in 2024, this election. But there's a reason why the NGOs are behind this. I'm telling you, it's all by design. They've been planning this from the beginning. A lot of these are migrants. A lot of these are homeless people. But the thing about it is that they still don't have voter ID. That's why they don't want it. On top of that, Trump is winning overwhelmingly with the Latino vote, with the black vote. This has never happened before, guys. Check this out.
Folks, everybody's noticing it. The Trump coalition has completely changed. It is a different operation now. This is a totally different campaign. It is a different candidate, and working class people who feel screwed by the system. And it is not a racial, ethnic, or religious thing. Don't make it, it's not. It is this phenomenon, trust me when I tell you, crosses racial barriers, crosses religious lines. The persecution of Donald Trump by a weaponized justice system has alienated working class Americans who feel like the thumb of the system has been on them for a long time. It has created a renaissance of support between working class white voters, black voters, Hispanic voters. You have to be an not to recognize it. Look at what happened when they started locking this guy up, and look at the support. It's directly proportional. More prosecution, more support. Here's a CNN commentator telling you exactly what I'm telling you about the Hispanic vote. Folks, if these numbers hold, there's no math for Kamala Harris to win. Check this out.
Kind of the jitters that are on the Democratic side is because that there's this feeling, and these polls are showing that Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, is underperforming with Latino voters. And I think, you know, kind of what we've already talked about is Latino voters are not monolithic, right? And there are plenty of Latino voters who are concerned about the border, may want a stronger border, may look at, you know, the rhetoric that Trump has about, you know, immigrants or people coming over and say, that's not me. I did it the right way. They didn't do it the right way.
Folks, they're second guessing everything now. They're freaking out. Believe me, I did not accidentally title this thing, "They Want Biden Back." I'm going to get to that whole, you'll see, they are starting to freak out now. Young voters that was the Democrat firewall. They figured they may be able to lose a point or two of the black vote, a point or two or three, maybe 4 or 5 with the Hispanic vote. But they felt like if they could get the Obama hopey-changey thing out and the young kids showed up, that this thing was going to be a rout. Folks, it's not happening. It's not happening. These college campuses, you can find Trump supporters everywhere. Even on some liberal ones, it's insane. I want you to, this segment here almost sums up the entire broken phenomenon the left have been putting out there that they're the party of the Hispanic vote. This MSNBC segment is laughable. Trump is in South Florida in the Miami area. He's talking to Hispanic business entrepreneurs, Hispanic voters who love him down here. I live here, folks. You're not going to tell me what South Florida likes if you're a liberal watching the show. I live here. I live in South Florida, okay? We're down in Miami all the time. There is a phenomenal amount of Donald Trump support in the Cuban community, the Puerto Rican community. If you don't see it, I can't help you. You're too stupid to watch the show. Here's MSNBC. They've got a commentator on trying to crap on Donald Trump with the Hispanic vote as Donald Trump is getting a round of applause at a Hispanic vote roundtable he did in South Florida. This side by side. What do I tell you about politics? It's 2 things. What are they? Yes, sir. Snapshots and sound bites. Man, watch this and listen to the soundbite in contrast to the snapshot. Check this out.
This is a person that has been a no friend of the Latino community, no friend of immigrant communities, and he attacks us constantly. So as a community, we should rally behind the person that has always supported us. Donald Trump has been the most anti-Latino president, the most anti-Latino political figure of the modern era.
I just asked the guys, I go, can you guys please pull a screenshot of that? Is this not the entire election cycle summed up? Left-wing communist network, everything Cubans and Venezuelans want to get away from, MSNBC that loves communism. They have a left-wing lunatic on the air screaming about how much Hispanics hate Donald Trump, while Donald Trump is at a Hispanic roundtable in a Hispanic area of Hispanic South Florida, right? Look at this, getting a round of applause while this guy's screaming. Look at this, look at that's even better. Dude, we should not have even.
If this is not gaslighting at the highest level right in front of your face, he's at this roundtable with Latino leaders. And the news reporter is literally telling you, oh, Donald Trump doesn't like you. Donald Trump hates Latinos. He's never been for Latinos. And then you're seeing it for your eyes, with your eyes, that they are standing ovation for Trump. This is what tells you these MSNBC, these CNN, a lot of these hoes, they have lost it. Nobody trusts them anymore because they're liars straight to your face, trying to gaslight people, trying to tell you that what you're seeing with your eyes isn't real.
Played the audio. We don't even need the audio. This thing, man, this is an instant classic. This sums up. This needs to be a clip. This is the entire election summed up right here. Out of touch, elitist, bow tie wearing, foie gras, communist supporting media idiots going, Hispanics hate Donald Trump. And then actual Hispanics sitting there cheering on Donald Trump in a Hispanic area of South.
You can't make this crap up.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. What a freaking clown show. I'm telling you, I pulled that yesterday. I'm like, it's snapshots and sound bites, man. If I could only sum it up with one image about the Hispanic vote, that is it. And folks, don't forget the collapse with young voters too. Kamala Harris is fake. Listen, this show, I really can't stand it when people, it's stupid. Now, why did we title the show the way we did today? I'm not making it up. This is The Hill, folks. Again, this is like another communist outlet. What if Joe Biden was the better candidate all along? Oh, my God.
I'm telling you what, I think Joe Biden would be actually doing better than Kamala Harris at this time.
If more polls come out, there we go. Now they're fired up. If more polls come out showing Kamala Harris performing exceptionally poorly, I guarantee you, Politico Playbook, Axios, New York Times, Washington Post, there we go. Like to see that. Love to see it. I guarantee you there are going to be leaks upon leak upon leak upon leak from the Biden White House about how awful Kamala Harris is. Flag it. It's going to happen. You'll thank me in advance. It's going to happen. Watch.
I'm telling you guys, she's in a bad spot. Look at this video of Kamala Harris. She's at this press briefing. I've never seen her look like this. Remember, this is supposed to be the campaign of joy. Check this out.
They're
trying to ask a question. She just walks away. Guys, watch it. It'll play again. Guys, I think she knows she's lost. And this is one thing I want to show you real quick because I don't think a lot of people know this, but this is the facts. So right now in the United States, 49.7% is white, 24.6% is Hispanic. The black vote is 13.1%, Asian 7.9%. So whenever they say like that Trump is doing what? He's getting the Hispanic vote. He's actually beating Kamala Harris in the polls by 11%. This is huge. This is a quarter of the population right now. And this is where, again, too, you can't deny it. Check this out of what, coming from the ground, of what's actually happening on the ground when it comes to this key group that Trump is now winning over. Check it out.
President Trump promising Latino voters in Florida a secure border and an end to migrant crime, while Kamala Harris uses a Telemundo interview to make her pitch to Hispanic voters. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis joins us now. Governor DeSantis, great to have you this morning. I want to start with this poll of USA Today. And what you see here is Trump with an 11-point lead among Latino voters. You did extraordinarily well with Latino voters in your race for governor.
And just so y'all know, Republicans have never, in the history of the polling, ever won the Hispanic vote over the Democrats. It's at the presidential level. Never happened. This is monumental. This is history in the making.
Seeing a trend of Latinos going toward the Republican Party.
Well, certainly in Florida, I think Donald Trump will do very well. He'll win Hispanics. I think we won 62 or 63% 2 years ago in 2022. And I don't think Kamala Harris is going to play well at all. I think one of the things in Florida that's been exciting is, you go back when I got elected governor, there were 300,000 more registered Democrats Now we're into this election. We have 1 million more registered Republicans now in Florida, and I think you're seeing Hispanic voters play a big part of that. So this is the first presidential election, certainly in modern history, where Florida is not a swing state. Florida is going to go clear red across the board.
Governor, I want to talk to you about some of these amendments because they're very important in the state of Florida. I want to start with Amendment 4. This is the abortion initiative in Florida, and we've seen the Republican Party lose every single abortion ballot initiative across the country. And what people don't realize is the language is vague in these. It often leads to taxpayer-funded abortion, no parental consent, abortion until birth being legalized. It's rather radical. But in Florida, there's going to be language on the ballot explaining much of that. There's also a 60% threshold. Do you think you can win on Amendment 4?
No, absolutely. I think once people figure out the things you just said, and this was written very vaguely and deceptively, it should not even been on the ballot because they're trying to fool people. Their ad campaign talks nothing about their ads. They're just lying about Florida law. One of the things in Amendment 4, you're exactly right. Abortion till birth will likely lead to taxpayer funding. It eliminates parental consent for minors, which is absolutely extreme and radical. But it does something that I don't even think California or Colorado, some of these states did. It allows non-physicians to green light abortions up until the moment of birth. And they had always talked about the importance of the physician. So we've got a lot of physicians in Florida who are speaking out against it. So if you're pro-life, obviously this is an easy no. But even if you're not, I don't know very many people who want to see abortion till birth or think that physicians should be displaced in favor of healthcare provider, which you and I know can be a whole host of different things short of a licensed physician.
Sure. Another amendment that's very important is Amendment 3, and we're going to put up what Amendment 3 would mean. And this is about legal weed. And Governor DeSantis, one thing, a case that your team is making is that this would not limit it in public places. So is Florida going to start smelling like New York, God forbid, if this passes?
That will happen, yes. And here's the thing, this amendment, how did this get here? That's one big weed company has spent $100 million. And they wrote the amendment to benefit them, not to benefit the people of Florida. So this is not about freedom because they don't let you grow your own weed. If you want to do that in your backyard, you got to buy it from them. They create a big weed cartel. But on the other hand, they don't limit use in public. So you will see rampant use. So to me, this is anti-freedom. They don't let you grow your own. But on the other hand, people that don't want to be involved in marijuana will have their freedoms infringed upon when this is in our parks, on our beaches, just like it is in Colorado, in California, and places like that. And I would say this is a horribly written amendment. If you don't like weed, obviously you vote no. But even if you do, you have to read the actual text. This amendment actually gives the big weed companies total immunity from any civil liability. So if they sell you bad weed, you can't sue them. This is not something that should be in a constitution in the state of Florida. We have medical marijuana that's legal in Florida. People can get cards and do it, but we have not let it run rampant around our state and infringe on people's quality of life. If this amendment passes, it will reduce the quality of life in the state of Florida. There's no question.
Well, the text does matter, and I actually...
Man, I'm telling you this, like things that are happening, man, remember, United States, it's constantly changing, but I'm telling you this, the amount of policies that are trying to get into Florida, now that Florida is a super red state, trying to make it essentially more purple again, but the Harris campaign is coming out so strong, they're trying to bring up new things, but check this out. What you're about to see is, I feel like, is now the inflection point. People are done with all the gaslighting and all the lies to the point where it's like, we've been showing you clips of CNN. To me, this takes the cake in showing you that people are not believing it anymore. Check this out.
I have a feeling that there are a number of voters who are hearing so many things about Trump. They're hearing the claims, they're hearing the statements, they're hearing about members of the cabinet saying, no can do, no will do again. And then you hear Trump's campaign saying, this is false. President Trump never said any of this. I mean, Trump, though, tonight praised authoritarian leaders, China's Xi, Russia's Putin. Listen to this.
Can you imagine what President Xi, I got to know him very well. He's a fierce individual. He runs 1.4 billion people. with an iron fist. Am I allowed to say he's smart? He's smart. He's a smart man. He's a fierce man. I get along with him very well. Putin, these are people that are tough people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and I just want to say this too. I have no problem with Trump acknowledging it. I also think that if you don't acknowledge it, you're being naive. These dictators that run these entire countries, they're not stupid. They are smart. They have done something right to get themselves to literally run a company at a dictator or communist level. You cannot be naive with them and not think that you don't need a fierce, strong president who has the backbone of steel to fight against them. And whenever they say, well, they're always praising him, he says that, yeah, because he acknowledges power. And if you don't acknowledge power and you try to act like it's not there, it will run all over you.
Many people have an issue with appraising of any kind of either of these two leaders. Does the fact that he appears to have a strong affinity for those who are authoritarians in the leadership, is that deniable at this point?
Well, in the clip you showed, he didn't praise them. He just called Xi smart, which is the only praise he gave them.
Well, it's
but
not an insult.
It's not, okay,
Right.
well, it's not, but it's not praise either, which is what you said it was, which it wasn't. But according to the Jeffrey Goldberg article, which we talked about this entire night, you can't trust that article because the quote, 60,000 for an effing Mexican funeral, the only two on-record sources both said that he didn't say that. The only source is an anonymous source, and the family of the deceased soldier said that he was lovely to them, and in fact, they voted for Donald Trump today. That's how much they disagreed, and they said it was a disrespectful article that politicized the death of their loved one. And Jeffrey Goldberg did not care about printing something that they had no sources on the record for. And I, honest to God, like most Americans, do not care General Kelly's farewell tour where he tries to make amends for working for Donald Trump, since Democrats said we're going to run all these Republicans who work for Trump out of town unless they somehow make peace. So 2 weeks before Election Day, he runs to liberal journalist Susan Glasser about a conversation that allegedly happened 4 years ago. It doesn't pass a smell test. And that is why people are turned off to all of these stories. They remember Donald Trump's presidency for low inflation, jobs, peace through strength, controlled borders. That's why they care. No one believes Jeffrey Goldberg and the article from a publication that's owned by one of Harris's donors.
Right there. That's, I mean, right. When you hear this, them going back and forth, them allowing this on CNN, this just shows you where the state of the race is at. People are fed up, they're tired of it, and they're ready to see change. And what you're about to see next, I'm telling you, I believe this is why you have so much early voting and you have so much people that are moving towards Trump with all the momentum. Because nobody ever thought this was going to happen.
And it is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party.
Wow, that is insane.
I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and strength to fight for peace.
And this is the thing. People recognize that. People recognize that Trump is strength through peace through strength, that he is very, very confident in himself, is not afraid to say what needs to be said. And a lot of people are like, oh, he's too crude, who's this? Look, when you're running a country, when you're fighting against dictators, do you want a little softball? Do you want somebody who is all nice about it? No, you want somebody who's gonna have a backbone. And that's why, again, all these Democrats are trying to distance themselves from Kamala Harris and people are moving towards Trump. It's insane. I never thought I'd see where Democrats are literally like, I'm with Trump. I approve Trump. I signed with Trump and I got away from Biden. Check this out.
Reportedly worried about winning those blue wall states as the vice president stumbles to even remember one of them.
My plans will strengthen America's economy. His plans will weaken America's economy.
Then why do you think that's not landing with voters? Because in the numbers, it's the opposite. Former President Trump leads you on this issue.
Well, when I'm out, this is why I'm going out to Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, excuse me.
Wow.
Right, you got to remember Michigan. Trump surrogate North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum joins us now. Governor, the blue wall's beginning to crack is one of the headlines. Do you see that, feel that when you were out there and when you're out there for former President Trump?
Well, absolutely. The enthusiasm is super high in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and the crowds are large, and people are really coming out for President Trump. Doesn't matter whether it's college kids before a Michigan State game, or whether it's retirees or energy workers in Pennsylvania, auto workers in Wisconsin. And Kamala may not remember Michigan, but people in Michigan are going to remember her EV mandates that are killing auto jobs in that state.
Right. Even though she says, I'll go along with the law, and she wants to bring manufacturing back, it doesn't seem to be resonating. Real quick, before we move on to Iran, in terms of American production, oil and gas, she's for fracking. Then they said, I'm not going to look for any more fossil fuel exploration. Then she walked it back and says, I do. These are all through surrogates. What should people read into? And you as a governor, when they come back and say, well, oil and gas did pick up under me, meaning the Biden Harris, what do you say to that?
Well, that statement is completely misleading because they've done everything to attack U.S. energy during the Harris time in office. And so any numbers that the U.S. is producing right now is in spite of Harris, not because of her. And when you take a look at what's going on in the world, I mean, they've been attacking U.S. energy and then allowing our adversaries, Russia, Iran, others, Venezuela, to produce record amounts of energy overseas. And so they're not only hurting the American economy, hurting American workers, they're actually helping fund wars abroad. I mean, they're helping fund Iran's terrorism, and they're helping fund Russia's war against Ukraine.
Yeah, and by the way, that led to the NBC News headline, Democrats brace for a possible crack in the blue wall as signs of North Carolina is slipping. That came out on Tuesday. Now, Governor Burgum, you said, and there's a headline, you said that Iran is funding terrorism around the world thanks to us looking the other way when it comes to enforcing the sanctions. They're selling their oil and gas to China, and we're doing nothing. But how are we paying the price for that?
Well, first of all, just the scale of what Iran is doing and what the Biden-Harris is allowing here. I mean, not only the $16 billion of direct sanction relief that's given them more cash. President Trump had Iran financially, on their knees relative to the sanctions actually working. And under Biden-Harris, they've quadrupled the amount of annual oil production, as you say, going to China. China's increasing their strategic petroleum reserve, getting ready for World War III. Harris and Biden drained our petroleum reserve in half ahead of the midterms.
With your knowledge of the energy industry, if Israel is going to hit Iran, we know that. If they do decide to take out their oil and gas production, what would that do to the price of oil and gas in the world?
Well, there might be a spike at some point in time, but right now there's a lot of capacity, potential increase for other players to step in and fill that gap. When price goes up, people increase their supply. But, you could take care of all of that if you were actually supporting the U.S. shale industry, because between Oklahoma, Texas, Alaska, North Dakota, and Pennsylvania, we could take all that slack up in the United States. So, but I know that they're afraid of doing anything that might raise the price at the pump ahead of the midterms, and that's why they keep allowing our adversaries. That's why they're allowing record amounts of Venezuelan oil into our country. They're doing anything they can to manipulate the price, and they're doing that. That's harming American consumers, and it's helping our adversaries.
Right, and it helps brutal dictators like the Venezuelan leader. Governor Burgum, thanks so much.
I'm telling you what, Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat is 100% right. Say, get your butts out to vote early. Trump wins in a landslide victory. Let's go. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Again, look, guys, these clips that are going viral across the internet, they're for a reason. Listen to this. When you listen to this, I'm telling you, this is just eye-opening because it's not coming from Fox or Fox News or Newsmax. This is MSNBC clips. Check this out.
What are your feelings, and let me start with the women here, about Kamala Harris?
She's a woman of color. I'm not putting her down because of that, and I'm not putting her down because she's a woman. I'm not a feminist, so I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, I don't think that she has the personality. I don't think that she has what it takes to go up against Putin and go up against these other presidents that are built for this. I don't want to be scared because my president is scared. I want my president to feel secure and manly and about it.
We brought up gender, right? Like, do you think it matters that she's a woman and people aren't comfortable having a woman in a top leadership role?
No, I don't think that, because most men, they love their mothers. They love their wives. So as a woman, most men, they respect the woman, but she just don't have the qualification or the education to really run America because she don't have the experience. She don't understand our struggles.
Did you see this MSNBC host like, I cannot believe this person is saying this on live. Like, are you kidding me? I'm telling you, this is why these videos are going viral. You just saw it on the reporter's face. People are not afraid to speak out anymore. Like 2020, 2016, people were afraid to say they were for Trump. Now, people don't care. The economy is so bad. Things are so freaking expensive. They're like, you know what? This candidate sucks. I'm with Trump.
And for me to believe you for another 4 years, you're crazy.
Ooh.
Like, you're crazy. You're saying the same thing that you said 4 years ago.
So the fact that she's the vice president
That's
to
just
you
the
is
bottom line.
You're like, you've been here, you've had a chance.
Yes. Well, for me, the very first time I ever heard the name Kamala Harris, it was in association to locking up parents for truancy. That was the first time I ever heard of her name. And I really didn't understand how this person claims to be a black woman, but yet she's locking up black women and black men and separating families.
This is a thing that is, Trump talks about this a lot. He says, you know, Kamala Harris became black when it was convenient.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about, do you agree with him on that? Do you feel like she's wearing her blackness?
Absolutely. She's sworn into when she sworn to the Senate, it was as the first Indian American.
Thank you.
Which is, it's fine. We don't care.
We all know she's not black. Let's understand that. We are all clear of that. But my point of view is like, early, she's already been there. She's in office right now.
I'm telling you guys, I love it. Tell me what you think about this in the comments, because it just keeps getting worse. And this is the thing. They chose Kamala Harris. They didn't have a primary. They didn't go out and do it the right way like they did with Trump, because remember, it was Trump, Vivek, Chris Christie tried to do it, like all these different people. With the Biden coup, they picked Kamala Harris and she got 0 votes. Check this out.
We still don't have an answer to a pretty important question. Why is Kamala Harris even the nominee and not the guy that actually won the Democratic primary by millions of votes? Is that a threat to democracy? Tonight, during an interview, Kamala still could not answer that question. Take a look.
Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
I am running for president of the United States. Joe Biden is not.
Here now with reaction, Harris Poll Chairman Mark Penn is with us, former senior advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller, the host of Outkick, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, the ever so fearless Tommy Lahren. Good to see you all. Tommy, start with you. All right, your reaction to all of it. This to me is their closing argument. They sound desperate. They're acting desperate.
Very
and they can't
desperate.
answer the question where they have been successful, how they improved the country. That to me is a problem.
And Kamala is also visibly agitated and angry and hostile when she's asked or she's pressed even the slightest bit by her friends in the mainstream media. I will also say this, not only are they reeking of desperation, when you hear and the polls are...
Laura Trelongo with the super chat. Thank you so much. We got a first timer, y'all. Love all you do for everyone. Hey, do it for you. Y'all show Laura some love in the chat.
Telling you that you're hemorrhaging black men and you're hemorrhaging Hispanic support, you decide, or your campaign decides, the best way to navigate that is to put Liz Cheney out on the campaign trail,
that
as
was
if
bad.
that is going to somehow win you back black and Hispanic support. I mean, her campaign team, they should be sued for malpractice at this point. I would assume that she had some pretty excellent folks on that team, but perhaps I was wrong. But Sean, listen, the polls are exciting if you're a Trump supporter or a Republican. You and I are always cautiously optimistic. We tread very lightly in getting overly excited because the red wave in 2022 was just a pink splash. But I'll tell you this is why I'm encouraged, because in 2020 and in the 2022 midterms, the Democrats had two luxuries that they do not enjoy now. They always had bad candidates. In 2020, certainly a bad candidate, but they had the luxury of mastering the logistics of elections. They could get out the vote. They had the early voting down, the mail-in voting, the ballot harvesting where it was legal. So they had that luxury. But now Republicans are closing that gap because Republicans are getting in the game. We love to see it.
Yes.
And the second luxury that they don't have is that people don't have the luxury themselves right now of just simply voting on their hatred for Donald Trump. So they keep trying to peddle this, Donald Trump's a dictator, Donald Trump is all three dictators in one. Well, if the country was going well under the current administration, that might work. But that is old. It's tired. As Kamala says, it's time to turn the page on that. We don't have the luxury to simply vote against Donald Trump coming up in a couple of weeks.
Mark, as you look at the polls, and I put a little stock in the betting markets, I know there's some controversy on that. And I think Mark Halperin, like you, is a smart guy. I think he leans more left, obviously. But if early voting trends continue, he says this election could be over before Election Day. And you've been very outspoken that you think things are swinging Donald Trump's way. Tell us where you see it.
Well, look, I think Donald Trump has an edge. I would not count Kamala Harris out at this point, but I think he's got an edge because he's winning on all the major issues.
Yes.
People are unhappy, as you showed with Barack Obama's comments, and she's winning on the economy, she's winning on immigration, she's winning on crime, and winning by large margins he's winning on large margins of who could do a better job to end the Ukraine and Israel. And that means foreign affairs and domestic policy are in his camp. I think he's had some very strong issues in swing states, doing the auto workers in Michigan, fracking in Pennsylvania, and tips, no tax on tips in Nevada. I think it's been a clever campaign in all those respects. And so I think he's got the edge. And most importantly, I think Republicans were losing about 2 points by counting on their vote to show up on Election Day, because only about 90% of voters who plan to vote on Election Day wind up there. And the fact they're equalizing that is probably worth 1 to 2 points, particularly in these swing states.
That's an important analysis. 79%, I'll add to that, Steve and Miller, think that the country is now headed in the wrong direction, on top of Donald Trump being right on the issues and in line with the American people, and a peace and prosperity drive elections. That would give him the advantage, in my view. But to me, the closing argument of calling Donald Trump names just proves my point. They don't have a record of success to run on. Your thoughts?
It's the same pathetic, desperate hoaxing, vile defamation and slander that we've seen. But the American people are not buying it, and that is reflected in poll after poll after poll. And as Mark said, it's because President Trump is winning on the issues, his massive edge on tackling inflation and making the economy work for American workers, his massive edge on foreign policy, his colossal edge on the border invasion and the immigration disaster, issue after issue. And as you mentioned, 8 in 10 Americans think that the Biden-Harris administration has put America on the wrong track. And then look at the quality of the campaign, Sean. Have we ever seen such a series of blunders as we've seen from Kamala in recent days and weeks? Saying that people who believe in Jesus are not welcome at her rallies, skipping the Al Smith dinner, then sending in an anti-Catholic video mocking and denigrating Catholics, then doing a national TV interview, the clip you just played, where she's swearing to the American people that Joe Biden's brain is in perfect top-functioning form? What, and then having that town hall where somebody tried to ask a question and they said, no, we don't let anyone ask questions that haven't been pre-selected here? I mean, one time after another, her campaign has had catastrophic, huge, embarrassing humiliations. And what about President Trump? Masterstroke after masterstroke, from the Al Smith dinner to the shift at McDonald's to the no tax on tips, again, the market talked about, that's winning over service workers, to getting the endorsement of the rank and file Teamsters, something no Republican has ever done before, and of course the endorsement of the National Border Patrol Union. Donald Trump's campaign is on rocket fuel. Kamala's campaign really is just it's a joke at this point.
It really is. And I'll tell you this, what I'm about to show you next goes straight exactly to what Andy, who just gave the super chat, said, I found out the Democrat, they won a few days more to count the votes after the election. Can you find out what the heck is going on? Y'all show Andy some love in the chat, everybody. Guys, this is super serious because this right here, this blows my mind how in 2024, we still cannot, they're already letting us know that some places we will not know where the votes are going to be tallied at. But not just one day, not just 2 days. They're literally saying now, in Maricopa County in Arizona, it could take 10 to 13 days to tabulate the results. Check this out.
Anyway, very tight races here. In fact, Maricopa County is setting the stage that tabulating all these votes may not be an election night thing. It may take days.
Wow. Well, 12 News journalist Colleen Sikora explains that county leaders are asking voters for patience and to be prepared.
Tight races, high interest in the election, and a 2-page ballot are leaving Maricopa County officials warning of lines on Election Day, and also warning it's going to take them 10 to 13 days to tabulate results.
Are you kidding me?
And an average of 79 contests per ballot.
We are expecting heavy turnout this year, and so that's why we're really encouraging people to vote early.
2 weeks out from Election Day, and some votes are in.
More than 400,000 people have cast their ballot in Maricopa County.
That's out of an anticipated 2.1 million voter turnout this year.
We are seeing a little bit of a lag of where we were in 2020, but the last few days we've actually seen an uptick in turnout. So I am expecting that we will start approaching very close to those 2020 numbers.
What can impact the amount of results released and when? Early ballots dropped off on Election Day.
Our races will be close.
And on Election Day, lines are expected, even with an increase in vote centers and voting booths at those vote centers.
If you're going to vote on Election Day, vote in person and use that on-site tabulator so that those votes will be tabulated on that evening, as opposed to dropping off your early ballot on Election Day.
The county adding more high-speed tabulators, more election workers.
We're increasing staffing at our ballot processing as well because, again, we're handling double the number of the sheets of paper. And so we are looking to both have extra shifts, night shifts, if necessary, in ballot processing, and then in the next step that takes place in election administration, and that's through tabulation.
But tabulation expected to take time.
We do expect that it will take between 10 and 13 days to complete tabulation.
Are you freaking kidding me, guys? This is, look, that's too much room for error. That's too much. It makes me uneasy to hear it might take 2 weeks to literally count the votes for one of the most important counties of the entire election. And it's seriously like, this is where, how is it in 2024 that we cannot update our technology to be able to have a barcode, a serial number? How is it that in 2024, they don't want voter ID? It's because if you're not for voter ID, then you're for voter fraud. It's plain and simple. Because there's no way that you can't say that a person cannot get a voter ID to be a part of the most important election in our country for the President of the United States. And what you're about to see here is more and more of the administration. It's all been intentional. Check this out.
Welcome back. Well, a new caravan of 2,000 illegal migrants headed to the U.S. southern border right now. The Biden-Harris administration is taking a victory lap over these new border numbers, which show a slowdown in illegal crossings since Biden took office.
Insane that's happening, guys.
They've been record numbers in the last 4 years. No mention of the recorded gotaways or the 320,000 missing children. A White House spokesperson says recent border crossings are down more than 55% since Biden took office, to the lowest level in 4 years. Meanwhile, 2 suspected members of the dangerous gang, the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang, have been accused of murdering a man inside of a Connecticut hotel room. They then fled the scene in the victim's car with their 2 young children. Cops arrested the suspect when they tried to use a stolen credit card at an Amtrak station. Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Texas Congressman Chip Roy are now demanding the Biden-Harris administration provide a full accounting of Venezuelan migrants released into the country. Good luck with that. They're asking specifically who and where these migrants are. In a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the lawmakers charge, quote, the massive increase in crimes committed by Venezuelan illegal aliens is a direct result of this administration's purposeful policies. Joining me now is one of the men himself, Texas Congressman Chip Roy, a member of the House Judiciary, Rules and Budget Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate your time. Is there any way, realistically, for you to actually know how many Venezuelan gangs and dangerous Venezuelans are in this country right now?
Maria, now that's the exact question. And the fact is, you kind of snickered and you said, good luck with that. And, you know, most of the people I represent are tired of, quote, strongly worded letters. But you know what? So am I. That's the reason November 5th is so critically important. What Ted and I are really trying to do, Senator Cruz and I are really trying to do, is set the stage for what we need when we get control again of the Department of Homeland Security. When we do what we should do on November 5th, when we retake the executive branch, we have the House and the Senate, we've got to go through and have a total clearing out. The American people deserve to know what this administration has done to the American people. I've come to know, and you probably know, Alexis Nungaray. She's a beautiful 27-year-old woman outside of Houston. Her beautiful 12-year-old daughter was murdered by one of these Venezuelan gang members and another Venezuelan just outside of Houston. She put her daughter to bed, Jocelyn Nungaray, on Sunday night, and on Monday, her daughter was no longer with her because of these Venezuelan gangs. In San Antonio, we just had about a mile from the San Antonio airport, we had 20 arrests of Venezuelans, 4 associated with TDA, 1 who is an enforcer, a dangerous individual. We had a prostitution ring running in El Paso. We had a woman abducted in Arlington, bound and robbed up in Irving, Texas. This is all over the country, not just Aurora, Colorado, but right here in Texas, where we're getting hammered for this. So Ted and I just want to know what in the hell is going on. Ted and I just want to know how many of these freaking gangs are running all over the country. Yeah. How many Americans have suffered, and what are we going to do about it? We need President Trump and a Republican House and Senate to actually do what we said we would do. It's not enough just to win. In January, we need to do something about it.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, these pictures are so stunning. Let's show that picture from Sunday once again, this wide shot of all of these people walking toward the southern border. They're in Mexico. This wide shot this is just Sunday. I mean, look at all of these people from Mexico to Chula, Mexico, and they're coming toward the U.S. border to enter the country. How is...
Guys, to me, this is like an invasion. This isn't just people trying to get over. This is like an invasion from other countries coming in, trying to get in before the election, before Donald Trump wins, to try to just get in unvetted. This literally blows my mind. It's just when I see this, I'm just so, I don't even have words for it. But I do want to say real quick, Judy Lynn Loving, thank you so much for the super chat. Y'all show Judy Lynn some love in the chat. First timer given to the channel. I'm going to show you something real quick because I want to give you some hope for what you're seeing of why it's so important for the early voting. Check this out. This is in Florida. Republicans are literally outpacing in early voting Democrats 54% to 27.95%. This has never happened, guys. This is good news, but it still means if you haven't voted, go vote. They have the no party affiliation, they have the other, but right now, remember, there's more than 1 million registered Republican voters in the state of Florida than Democrats. Florida is red now. It's not a swing state anymore like it used to be. But it 100% doesn't mean that in every other state, if you can go vote early, go vote early. Thank you so much, Ava Baynard. Thank you so much for the super chat. First timer as well. Hey, we've had a lot of first timers on here today giving super chats. Y'all show Ava some love in the chat because this right here is why we have to vote early.
Is it possible that the Biden-Harris administration has kept pace with all of this and has vetted these people properly? There's no way, and we know that now from all of the murders that you just recounted, Congressman. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris takes no responsibility for it. She did an interview with Bret Baier. It was an excellent interview. Bret pressed her on the border. She took no responsibility for this wide open border and the murders that you just relayed. She'll be campaigning in Houston on Friday with Congressman Colin Allred. He's challenging Ted Cruz's Senate seat. So she's going to be with the opponent of Cruz on this weekend. Democrats say that Cruz's seat is their best pickup opportunity this election cycle. But recent polls show that Cruz has a tight lead there. Democrats are pumping money into this race. The Chuck Schumer super PAC spent millions on new ads in an attempt to boost Allred. But will Colin Allred and Kamala Harris take responsibility for the open border when they campaign this weekend?
Well, of course they won't. I mean, look, there's no other way to put it than that our Democratic colleagues and Kamala Harris and President Biden, are liars. They are lying to the American people. This nonsense that, the numbers are going down on the border crossings. Well, that completely ignores the fact that they are purposely flying and moving people into our country, directly releasing them into our country. Bill Clinton, campaigning for Kamala Harris, said, we're not vetting these people properly. They know what they're doing, and they don't care. That's the truth, Maria.
Gosh, it's
and
so sad, y'all.
They are spending like hundreds of millions of dollars against Ted Cruz, the most expensive race in history, because they know they're going to lose West Virginia. They think they're going to lose Montana. They think they're in trouble in Ohio. They think they're in trouble in Pennsylvania. So they are desperate to try to knock off Ted Cruz because Senator Cruz is one of the few who are actually in Washington trying to fight to stop with the madness of what this administration is doing to our people. I mean, Maria, my great-great-grandfather was a Texas Ranger. The people who settled Texas came in here and fought to try to give us a state that is free and secure and prosperous. And now this administration is endangering us and giving it away.
Well,
we've got to stand up and fight them, and then we've got to support President Trump and secure this border.
Is there any way that a woman who was in charge of the border, who has overseen this wide open border, can take no responsibility for it and actually win the election? And heck, this story has been the biggest story, the biggest failure of the Biden-Harris administration. And look how tight these polls are. Are you believing these polls? Jump in here, Mahak.
Look, I don't believe these polls. I believe there's an undercurrent of voters, just like we saw when President Trump first ran, that are going to rebel hard because these aren't deep fakes. We're actually cheap fakes. We're actually seeing pictures of illegal immigrants that are killing our women and children. I don't believe Senator Ted Cruz's race is that close because the American people are waking up, and this is in their backyards now.
Well, I mean, look, Chip Roy, in the middle of all of this, look what Joe Biden said about Trump yesterday. Watch this.
I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up.
They're outright saying now. Hey, he ain't got nothing to lose, y'all. And this is the sad part of where we're at, is that Biden right now knows he's out. They've already had the coup against him. They asked him to step aside, essentially. But no, they forced him aside. And now we're at the point where we're days away from the election. And I'm telling you guys, I just feel it like, I really feel like Trump's going to win. But I just also at the same time too, I'm not naive to the fact that things have happened in the past. We've had what? Pipes break in Georgia. We've had what? In Arizona? Paper ballots, running out of paper ballots. We had what? In Pennsylvania? 300,000 votes come overnight instantly. I'm telling you, like this, I'm glad that more than ever, boots on the ground with the RNC is stronger than ever. Poll watchers, all these things, thank you so much. If you're a poll watcher, we want to have free and fair elections. That's what's important. That's what we got to hold to. And just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And want to give some shout outs to Laura Trelongo, Mr. Tracy J. Norby. Thank you to Andy and Rose, Judy Lynn, Ava Benar. So much for the super chats, guys. Thank y'all. Y'all show them some love in the chat. Thank you to all of our members of the channel. We are growing an amazing community, and we're bringing the truth. I'm hopefully showing you a lot of good value and content of what's going on, what's going viral. And I'm telling you, sometimes it's so funny that I'll show you something, and then like either the next day or the day after that, you see it on the mainstream media, and I'm like, hey, y'all late. We already showed it on True Life News because we show things from X as things are popping off. We're not going to wait. We want you to know what's actually going on. But we love you so much, appreciate all your support, and know that we are here to serve you. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.